The National Desk, America's News, now.
The CNN presidential debate is hours away in a first president versus president showdown. The expectations of what each candidate needs to do to win over America.
For farmers, these are people's homes and their businesses, and oftentimes these are generational farms.
Deadly floods continue in the middle of America, where those impacted can turn to start to recover after disaster. And the myth of the daily multivitamin. Just ahead, the new research giving the billion-dollar vitamin industry a reality check. This is the National Desk, America's News. Now, I'm Dee Dee Gatton. We're so glad you're with us. Here is a live look outside of the CNN presidential debate, where in just 3 hours, the last two presidents of the United States will take the stage in a never-seen-before kind of showdown. The CNN presidential debate will be the first time two presidents will go head-to-head, and they will do so with new rules never used before in any previous one-on-one format. For a preview of what to expect tonight, let's get straight over to the National Desk. Matt Gelka live in Atlanta tonight. And Matt, a lot of anticipation for tonight, especially considering many Americans didn't think tonight would actually happen.
Yeah, Dee Dee, it certainly is a historic rematch. And look, maybe it's not the rematch that every voter out there wanted, but still plenty on the line for both candidates tonight. The goal, try and convince those people who are still on the fence to come to their side.
Trump versus Biden. It's the first time a current president and former president square off in a debate rematch.
I think anytime you've got a close election where either candidate could conceivably win, that the debates take on added importance.
Journalism professor and debate expert Alan Schroeder says both Biden and Trump have an opportunity to change narratives and appeal to voters beyond their base, voters that polling shows don't really like either candidate at all.
These are not Trump supporters necessarily watching the debate. He needs to go after these people who are still persuadable. And I think fire and brimstone or a really heavy-handed approach in his delivery would really backfire on him. I think with Biden, again, he's in a kind of frozen position in the polls. So he needs to try something, do something, say something that might shake those numbers up a little bit. And I think one thing he'll try to do is try to remind voters of his record.
The opponents know each other well. The two debated twice in 2020. The first may be best known for a sometimes incoherent shouting match.
Just radical left. Will you shut up, man? Listen,
CNN's debate format will feature automatically muted mics. The network explained how it will look and sound.
And he's going to interrupt me. My volume remains constant, while Victor's interruption can be difficult to understand.
The debate topics haven't been revealed, but safe bets include the border, economy, foreign policy, and abortion rights.
They're running for president. Let's talk about the border. Biden opened the border, Trump secured the border. They ought to talk about that. They ought to talk about inflation. It's a big issue.
With Joe Biden, it's about real solutions. So I just think be himself, give us a positive vision for America, one that impacts our families.
And another first, this is the earliest debate in U.S. history happening before both parties' conventions. Another debate is scheduled for September. Dee Dee?
Matt, only the president and former president on the stage tonight. What about the other candidates?
Yeah, CNN rules they didn't have third-party and independent candidates qualifying for the debate stage because of a number of factors. That will likely hurt Robert F. Kennedy Jr. the most, who has been polling decently well when it comes to third-party candidates. But I'm sure Trump and Biden don't mind. In other polls, when it's a three-way matchup between Trump, Biden, and RFK Jr., he's taking away votes from both of them. Just about 2 hours to go now before the big show tonight. Dee Dee?
All right, and we will check in with you later tonight live in Atlanta outside of where the CNN presidential debate will take place. Matt Gelka, thank you. After prematurely posting the order yesterday, the Supreme Court made it official today. Hospitals in Idaho can provide emergency abortions for now. The final 6-3 opinion reverses the court's earlier ruling that allowed the ban, which bans abortions even in medical emergencies, to go into effect. But the ruling was limited and allows the Idaho case to continue to play out in lower courts. The court added 3 other decisions today. In a 6-3 vote, the justices ruled that people accused of fraud by the SEC have the right to a jury trial in federal court. In a 5-4 vote, the court ruled against the EPA and their plan to limit downwind pollution from power plants. In another 5-4 vote, the justices struck down an opioid settlement case that protected Purdue Pharma's owners from further litigation. More decisions are expected tomorrow, with some notable cases yet to be decided, like the extent of presidential immunity. As these decisions come out, trust in the Supreme Court remains low among the majority of U.S. adults. The Associated Press North Center finds 7 in 10 Americans say the justices are more influenced by their ideology. 4 in 10 say they do not have confidence in the people running the high court, while 3 in 10 say the justices are likely to provide fair and impartial checks on other branches of government. Developing now, the search for a possible hazardous leak after a train derailed in a Chicago suburb. The train involved is from the Canadian Railway Company. There were no immediate reports of injuries, but officials are looking into a leaking train car, which the spokesperson for the town of Madison described as a white powdery substance. At this time, the substance is not thought to be hazardous. However, residents in a 1-mile radius were asked to evacuate as a precaution. New video out of Illinois. A tremendous sinkhole opens up right in the middle of a soccer field in Alton, Illinois on Wednesday. Look right here. One of the stadium's light poles goes down in a heap as smoke billows up. A construction materials company says an underground mine collapsed at a nearby park. Local Parks and Rec officials estimate the sinkhole to be 100 feet wide and 30 feet deep. No injuries were reported. In a nationwide healthcare crackdown, the Department of Justice has charged nearly 200 people in a $2.7 billion fraud scheme. Attorney General Merrick Garland says among those charged are doctors, nurse practitioners, and other health professionals who scammed Americans in a variety of scams, including a $900 million scheme to target dying patients in Arizona.
It does not matter if you are a trafficker in a drug cartel or a corporate executive or medical professional employed by a healthcare company. If you profit from the unlawful distribution of controlled substances, you will be held accountable.
When it comes to airport travel, records are just made to be broken. TSA airport screenings have once again hit an all-time high. The agency reporting this week that it screened a record 2.99 million passengers on Sunday. And with the July 4th holiday right around the corner, experts say we should expect more record-breaking crowds. Looking at the big picture across all mediums of travel, AAA is forecasting nearly 71 million people will leave home. The vast majority, 60 million Americans, will travel by car to their 4th of July destinations, while close to 6 million will pack the airports, exceeding pre-pandemic numbers. Tonight, new sanctions slapped on Boeing by federal investigators. The National Transportation Safety Board says Boeing blatantly violated the agency's regulations by giving news outlets private information about the Alaska Airlines investigation. The agency has been trying to find out why a door plug blew out mid-flight on an Alaska 737 MAX jet in January. Now, the NTSB says Boeing won't get access to investigative information as it develops. The agency may also subpoena records it needs during the investigation. CDK Global, the retail software provider that was recently hacked, says its system probably won't be fully restored until July. The ransomware attack paralyzed nearly 15,000 car dealerships across North America since last Wednesday. While some systems have come back online, many car buyers and sellers are being impacted. Many dealerships have been returning to pre-online methods like using written records. Tonight, more details emerging after a violent attack on a busy highway just outside of Seattle. Troopers are still trying to figure out what happened inside a car that led to a driver being stabbed to death and left other passengers with gunshot and stab wounds. The National Desk, Jeremy Harris with more.
The attack happened inside this black BMW, now pulled to the side of the road and surrounded by evidence markers and crime scene tape.
We have everybody involved, detained, trying to figure out the sequence of events, who's a suspect, who's a victim.
As crime scene investigators piece together the scene, their main question is what happened inside the car that led to one man being stabbed to death, 2 other passengers being stabbed, and 1 man being shot multiple times.
It was a pretty chaotic scene because we didn't know what we had in the vehicle.
Trooper Rick Johnson says 911 callers reported the car was pulled over on the side of the road and a woman was standing outside covered in blood.
There was a number of troopers that arrived, so they were dealing with those injured individuals.
The 3 survivors were taken to the hospital while troopers closed down lanes of I-5 to investigate. Video from the Como 4 drone shows the backup that led to hours of delays for thousands of drivers. With 1 person dead and 3 others seriously wounded in the middle of a busy freeway, troopers say they hope to get a clearer picture of what happened and why.
It seemed to be all contained inside that one vehicle, which we've determined is also a stolen vehicle.
And this just in, a jury has found the NFL guilty in the Sunday Ticket lawsuit. It focused on sales of the NFL's Sunday Ticket package to DirecTV. The NFL was ordered to pay out nearly $5 billion. The league says it will appeal. Coming up, which states are at greatest risk for thunderstorms, hail, and tornadoes tonight? Then, Walgreens struggling financially. How many stores the pharmacy chain could close in the next few years? Then, a baseball player almost gave up hope after a paralyzing accident decades ago. How he's now turning tragedy into triumph. We'll be right back. Right now, more than 20 million Americans are at risk of severe thunderstorms, especially in the western, northern, and central U.S. The biggest risk is in parts of the northern and central high plains where very large hail, significant damaging winds, and few tornadoes are possible. Heavy rain could lead to flash flooding in some areas. FEMA's administrator is on the ground in northwest Iowa touring the damage from devastating floods this week. In the Sioux City area, water spilled over a river levee and damaged hundreds of homes. The torrential rainfall also flooded main roadways, including I-29 and Highway 12, prompting closures. The floods, which spanned Iowa, Nebraska, South Dakota, and Minnesota, are responsible for at least 2 deaths. FEMA's administrator says all residents affected should contact their insurance company and apply for federal assistance. Today, much of the south and southeast are still dealing with very high temperatures, with at least 27 million people under heat alerts. The north and northeast got a bit of a reprieve today, but could see a return to elevated temps tomorrow. And the upcoming hot holiday week could put certain people at risk for stroke. Medical reporter Liz Bonas shares what can happen in the body that can cause this potentially life-threatening brain injury.
Hey there, hello to you. You may not realize it, but heat can impact a number of things in your body linked to stroke risk. And new research shows we do see an uptick when hotter temperatures set in. In fact, a recent study in the Journal of the American Medical Association found higher temperatures are associated with an increased risk of acute ischemic stroke or injury to the brain.
What their data suggests is that temperatures in excess of the mid-90s might nearly double the risk of stroke compared to the mid-50s.
Dr. Andy Ringer of Ohio's Tri-Health Neuroscience Institute told me we don't know for sure why.
But the prevailing wisdom is that perhaps dehydration alters the way the blood clots in our body and might make it a little bit greater risk that it could clot spontaneously and result in things like heart events or strokes.
In this study, researchers found exposing people to high temperatures for just an hour increased their stroke risk up to 10 hours later, even after they had moved to places with lower temperatures. You see, when the temperature rises, your body sends more blood to your skin to cool it down. That can make you sweat, and this too can cause dehydration, which thickens the blood, making it more likely to form clots that can block blood flow to the brain and cause a stroke. Now, one of the acronyms used to identify someone having a stroke, be fast. It stands for balance, eyes, face, arm, speech. Changes in any of those, and it's time to call 911. That quick timing may allow for drugs and procedures right away that are life-saving. With your health news, I'm Liz Bonus reporting.
The National Hurricane Center is on tropical storm watch with 2 potential storms brewing in the Atlantic. Right off the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, in yellow here, is Disturbance 1. It has about a 30% chance of strengthening into a tropical storm in the next 7 days. But Disturbance 2, further out in the Atlantic in red, has a 60% chance of strengthening by the weekend. And over 7 days, there is an 80% chance. The next named storm would be Beryl. A Maryland-based food manufacturer is recalling over 60 ice cream products sold nationwide due to possible listeria. Totally Cool issued the recall for multiple brands, including Hershey's, Friendly's, and Chipwich. The company stopped production and distribution and is now investigating and taking preventative actions. Customers should return the product for a refund. About 1 in 3 Americans take a daily multivitamin supplement daily, but it may not help them live any longer. A new study by NIH looking at 20 years of data from almost 400,000 people did not show signs that supplement use extended lifespans or reduced mortality rates from heart attacks or cancers. The authors concluded it is best to get vitamins from natural sources rather than supplements, although the study did not look at people who had pre-existing vitamin deficiencies. Walgreens is planning to close many of its roughly 8,600 locations over the next few years. The chief executive told the Wall Street Journal he's reviewing around a quarter of the unprofitable stores and could shut down a large number of them. The company will also decrease its stake in the primary care provider Village MD. Walgreens has struggled partly because of lower revenue growth from prescription drugs. We have reporters all across the country in your neighborhoods covering issues that matter to you. We're taking the pulse of America. With more people heading outside in the hot weather, there are some vulnerable groups of people that can be susceptible to heat-related illness, especially those on antidepressants. According to the CDC, 11% of Americans 12 and older take them. A study found that these medications can cause the core body temperatures to rise above 106 degrees. One psychiatrist says these drugs sometimes block signals to the brain that tell your body to sweat.
Modulation of serotonergic activity can have an effect on the hypothalamus, which is an area of the central nervous system that one of its functions is kind of regulating body temperature.
Hunting down and removing convicted criminals living in the country illegally is a cakewalk compared to removing the stigma surrounding immigration enforcement in the state.
They're told that they need to be worried that ICE is coming to get them. We don't look for people who are non-criminals.
Elliston adamant, ICE is only targeting people like this. The man being cuffed, a 36-year-old Honduran national, who ICE says has already been deported twice. According to charging documents, back in March, he was arrested in Howard County for selling $400 worth of cocaine to an undercover cop. A search warrant later leading to the discovery of 7 times that amount of cocaine in his home, packaged into 89 Ziploc bags for distribution. Following a guilty plea, a judge only requiring he serve 155 days of a 20-year sentence.
preventing the spread of dengue fever. The CDC issuing a warning Tuesday of cases reaching uncharted territory. Good Samaritan Medical Center infectious disease specialist Dr. Klepper D. Almeida says nearly every state in the U.S. is seeing cases, but even more so abroad.
We have this very large epidemic of dengue that's happening in Latin America.
As of Wednesday, Palm Beach County has 13 reported cases of dengue fever. Dr. D. Almeida says all the county's cases are associated with traveling.
So we have not had any cases of local transmission, but with the increasing number of cases in our county, it increases also the chances of us having local transmission of dengue.
Coming up, a baseball player became permanently paralyzed in 1989 because of a head-first slide. What he's now doing to make sure it doesn't happen to anyone else. We'll be right back. In 1989, a young baseball player's head-first slide at home plate left him permanently paralyzed. Now he's on a mission to make baseball safer, a safer sport to play. But a Spotlight on America's Dwayne Pullman discovered that once broken player came close to ending his life until a major league star gave him hope to go on. Here's Dwayne with the incredible story of the save.
At a baseball field in northeastern Kentucky, David Irie is returning to the diamond where his life forever changed.
It's not what I would call my field of dreams.
In 1989, David was a high school baseball star, but that ended here at home plate with a headfirst slide and collision with the catcher.
I remember getting everything going numb.
David fractured his spinal cord. He was in a hospital, paralyzed, depressed, and considering suicide. But just as darkness began to consume him, a star appeared at his bedside.
I looked up and Al Oliver came in.
Al Oliver, the legendary Major League slugger, had just retired and was now a minister making rounds at the hospital when he walked into David's room.
So you didn't know he was there?
I did not know he was there. It was just God leading me to his room.
This photo was taken just after that first meeting. Al told David to stay positive and not to give up. David says it saved his life.
Al Oliver said never give up. So they kind of helped me push on.
Al continued to visit David and sign pictures and baseball cards. His encouragement paid off, leading David to a purpose which would bring him back to the game he loved. David started his own nonprofit, the David Irie Foundation, dedicated to funding spinal cord injury research and teaching young boys and girls safer ways to play the game. According to the National Safety Council, in 2022, baseball and softball players in America were sent to the ER more than 136,000 times. Truveta, which researches electronic health data, discovered baseball had the highest rate of face and head injuries, more than 15% higher than any other sport. While spinal cord injuries are rare, David focuses his lessons on avoiding the slide that broke his neck.
Are you saying never, ever slide head first?
Yes, and especially home plate.
Baseball greats like Jose Rijo embrace David.
I would do anything for Dave, anything.
On May 25th, David Irie rolled onto the field at Great American Ballpark, honored by the Cincinnati Reds as captain for the day. Al Oliver was honored too. Al had to use his own wheelchair to get to the mound, but when he got there, he stood up and threw the first pitch. Major league moments for a long-retired superstar and the once broken player he saved.
We made it.
For Spotlight on America, I'm Dwayne Pullman.
So inspiring to see. Coming up next here, LeBron James' son gets another shot at getting drafted tonight, the historic milestone he could achieve right after this. Justin, tonight, Bronny James, the basketball-playing son of NBA all-time leading scorer LeBron James, got drafted by the Lakers after not being selected in the first round. He and his dad can now play alongside each other in the same league. No other father-son duos have been on the floor simultaneously. Wow, that is going to be fun to watch. Two giant pandas are on their way to the San Diego Zoo from China. Also fun to watch here. China loans pandas to more than 20 countries under a program often referred to as panda diplomacy. But this is the first time China has granted new panda loans to the U.S. in 2 decades. The National Zoo in D.C. also expected to receive a pair of pandas by the end of the year. That's going to do it for us for now. We invite you to join us again this evening for a reaction to the CNN presidential debate. I'm Dee Dee Gatton. Thanks for watching.